And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Susan to discuss the open container ordinance amendment.
Thank you, sir. Okay, it's been over a year now, believe it or not, that Borough Council took certain measures to respond to the residents and business community's needs during a very chaotic and time during the pandemic. On May 29th, Council held a special meeting with local businesses, and during that meeting, there were a number of ideas that were tossed around, and it was only a short time thereafter, in June, the Council took two steps to assist the business community. One being, you lifted the open container ordinance, and that was actually, I believe, around the first week in June that you did so. And it was lifted for the C1 business district, and provided the opportunity for your restaurants and your bars and distilleries to allow for the purchase and of alcohol, and for individuals who were frequenting the C1 to be able to enjoy those beverages on the sidewalks. At that same time, you also took measures to allow businesses to expand their sidewalk footprint. Prior to you doing so, businesses were permitted to make application to the borough for a sidewalk cafe permit, but they were restricted to only that space within their business footprint. So by expanding it, you permitted them to expand outside that business footprint to adjoining properties, so long as they had the property owner's permission. Both of these measures we've monitored closely throughout the year, and I'm pleased to say that we have received very little expressed concern. Now, we understand that, it was an unprecedented year. We still would like to continue to monitor things once we go into a post-pandemic environment and return, hopefully, to, pre-COVID nightlife in the downtown and so forth, and then see what may transpire. But because the governor has lifted the declaration, we will now need to determine whether to continue to allow the expansion of sidewalk use in the open container, and we have to do so through an amended ordinance. So what's before you is a draft that we drafted for your consideration. Would ask that you could consider to authorize the solicitor to advertise it this evening, or if you'd prefer, we can wait until the July 8th council meeting for you to take such action. What I would say is that we've already received at least one request from a business that is looking to the LCB to provide permission to them to continue use of adjoining properties' footprints. And in order to do so, they need to have documentation from the borough that they're permitted to do so. Any questions?
No, I would just say that given those time constraints and the fact that the police department reports no incidents other than those that are in community-wide with public drunkenness, there have been no calls or citations issued relating to the downtown or sidewalk business in the area. So I think based on that, I think we should consider to draft and advertise the ordinance this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I agree. I just want to add, we have, this isn't new territory. We have experience essentially operating under this ordinance for nearly a year and a half. As Susan indicated, it's been very positive. And I do think there's a certain amount of urgency with local businesses in a bit of a transitional period as to whether this is going to continue to move forward. I'll just say I'm comfortable advertising as is. I had some other discussions about whether we might in the future think about expanding it maybe beyond the C1, but I don't think that needs to be. That's something we can take up later.
Yeah, I'll just add I'm supportive of this and thank you, Chief, and the department for that data and monitoring that. And I think even in the notes here, some of the issues we can clean up. If it's broken bottles and things like that, we can figure those out. So I'm on board with doing this. I'm fully supportive. My only hesitation, I think we should move forward as quickly as possible. I guess my plead would be with Harrisburg because due to recent events, cocktails to go are not authorized. So I would hate a scenario where folks are bringing their own spirits downtown to have open containers and not going to our businesses. So I guess I'm supportive of this. I'll happily vote for it and pleading with the Pennsylvania Senate to come back and pass a clean bill because there's one sitting there. They'll pass it. The governor can sign it. I just hope they actually do that sooner rather than later. Thanks.
Just one thing, I'm totally in support. The ordinance looked very clean to me. The one thing I think we need to keep in mind is that Dickinson students were not with us last year, and they can be a bit feckless. And perhaps being in touch with Dickinson to include information about the open container law in their new student orientation so that they know that it's happening and that they need to be respectful of it, or else they'll have a problem. But that's the only thing that's going to change in the next 6 months is that students are going to come back. But other than that, the ordinance is great.
Just to note that new students are not 21 yet, so so we should be talking.
They're all sort of new because they will not be.
But
whatever orientation they do is people coming back to campus. I think it needs to be noted that this is a law.
Agreed.
I do have something to Councillor Cramsey's point. Might it be prudent for us to? I mean, I do acknowledge that the state Senate and the House are not in session again, at least right now until September. But might it be prudent of us to, as a council, send a letter to our state senator and state representative, essentially encouraging them to pass the legislation before them, allowing businesses to provide cocktails to go, and in even noting the action we're taking in support of our downtown businesses that they've encouraged us to take.
I don't think it's a bad idea. I also think we should also copy that correspondence to our bars and restaurants as well, so that they know that we've already asked. We're going to do our part, and we would like them to do their part too. Is there a motion to draft and advertise? Oh, yeah. Okay. Mr. Hicks?
I have to apologize. I didn't know we needed a motion to advertise. We do? Okay, well then I move that we advertise the posting of here we go. Thank you. I move that we consider directing the borough solicitor to advertise an ordinance amending chapter 78 and chapters 223 of the code of the borough of Carlisle that would allow the continuance of open sidewalk cafes and adjoining properties and consumption of alcoholic beverages by open containers in the C1 business district.
Thank you. Mr. Hicks has made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion on this item?
May I
You may.
ask whether or not council would consider also as part of that advertisement, the ordinance has to be advertised for a matter of 10 days in order to move this along expeditiously. Would you consider holding a special meeting this month to take action on this item?
Yes,
Next one.
that's fine.
Yes, July. Sorry.
It's the literalist.
Yes, that's fine. We good with that? Okay. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Anything further? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.